Hello, everybody. Opa. Welcome to this very special piano hangout live stream. I even have backing music today. So what's so very special about today? I will tell you everything about that whenever I have fixed my microphone sound. It is nice to have backing music for when I'm fixing the microphone sound. Alrighty, that's much better. Hi there, Yue, King of Waffle, welcome. So let me tell you about what's special about this stream. So back in 2016 was when I started doing video game stuff here on this channel that I originally made because I wanted to share my original music with people and to try to let people discover this channel a little bit more easily. I started doing covers of game music with the ultimate goal of perhaps one day, something that I wanted to do for a very long time, do my own video game music. And today is special because, for some reason, three of the biggest things I've been working on the past 2 years are all releasing in the same month. So that's kind of nuts. And these are three very different games. They have three very different soundtracks as well. And I'd love to tell you about it, to let you hear some stuff, and to play along with the stuff as well. And those three games are Guild Saga Vanished Worlds, STALKER, and Wild Country. So, two of those soundtracks I've already posted on my YouTube page. So STALKER and Guild Saga, those are both online. And STALKER is now also online on Spotify. I will soon put Guild Saga on there as well. Wild Country was supposed to release this week, but it's releasing next month instead. So you're going to have to wait a little bit for that. And the other exciting thing is that two of these games are actually releasing on Switch, which is nuts for me because Switch is like my favorite video game platform I think ever made, and I've been doing this since the Super Nintendo, so it's saying something. It's a very special platform for me and for a lot of people. So to have two games, Wild Country and STALKER on Switch is just nuts. So yeah, let me tell you about the first of those games that I started working on first, and that was actually Guild Saga. And I'm going to show you some gameplay while I talk about how that all came to be, and then I'll do some music stuff for you all. I'm gonna try to get this all working. I never do hip OBS stuff, so there you go. So this is Guild Saga. Let's give it a watch. So Guild Saga is a tactical RPG. It's now out on Steam, so on PC. Not sure when it's going to come to consoles, but it will probably come to consoles sometime in the future. And they actually contacted me at the end of 2021. And up until that point, I'd done a few smaller video game stuff. I'd done some game jams, done some little piece here, little piece there. They were actually the first people that just told me, Tim, we need an entire soundtrack. And the game looked super cool, very cool pixel art style. And I could just write a whole bunch of tracks for them, which was very, very exciting. So, as you can hear a little bit, I went for more of a orchestral folky sound, pulling some inspiration from Octopath Traveler and Final Fantasy Tactics and some other tactical RPGs that they've been sending me as inspiration. And also for myself, I really love the old Heroes of Might and Magic games, so those soundtracks also have some folky and orchestral elements that I try to combine as well. So it's a cool thing to be able to write just a whole bunch of tracks, and ultimately I wrote, oh sorry, that's another game. How many tracks did I write for Guild Saga? Like a whole lot. I think like 1.5 hours of music. Kind of nuts. So yeah, a real soundtrack, and more will be coming because it's an early access release. So there will be more stuff coming in the coming like 1.5 years. Thank you, UA. Glad you like them. So actually, the first track that I wrote for Guild Saga when they were setting up their crowdfunding campaign was the first trailer, which is very Octopath Traveler inspired. So for anybody who knows Octopath Traveler's music, you might like this. So this is actually written like 2 years ago at this point. So some of these tracks have been in the pipeline for a long time. So as you can hear, trying to go for that melodic, almost JRPG sound, but holding back just a little bit because it's not a JRPG. It's a little bit more like a tactical thing, so a little bit more relaxed. I also went for some tracks that are more in a kind of a wistful, folky sound. One of my favorites is Pilgrim Camp from that game. UA says, haven't played the Octopath Traveler games, but I can hear the JRPG inspiration. Yeah, it's kind of hard for me not to put the JRPG inspirations in anything that I do. And in this case, you know, it was a pixel RPG, or it is a pixel RPG. It has some anime looking character portraits, so some JRPG, absolutely. But you're just not too energetic all the time because you're, you know, having conversations with people and doing combat that's a little bit more tactical, a little bit more slow paced. You're going ham on the music would kind of break the mood. So I'm trying to keep the mood a little bit more relaxed. So this is one of my favorite tracks from the game that I wrote. It's much more, a little bit melancholic. you can definitely hear some more of the kind of Celtic Irish influences in this. You know, the Celtic, like the dulcimer and the accordion and some of the strings doing those nice runs. But definitely more through the lens of like video game music in general. And as I said, it's a little bit subdued and relaxed, which I enjoy. Hi, Amber Dragon, welcome. So yeah, it's a little bit like this kind of stuff, like relaxed and a little bit wistful, which I really enjoy. So there's some more uptempo stuff in here as well, which I'd really like to show to you as well. Currently scrolling through the soundtrack, looking what I'd like to show you. So there's some combat music in this as well, of course. And the first combat track I wrote was more of a groove-based track like this, which you could call like a slow burn. So the groove starts immediately and it builds up slowly and it ebbs and flows a little bit. It's kind of fun to play these again on the piano because most of the tracks that I write are like written on the piano initially. And then I flesh them out using other instruments. So it's kind of cool to bring them back to the piano a little bit here and there. You know, playing the piano through this stuff, it immediately turns into Zelda for some reason. Which for some tracks absolutely was the intention. So that's one of the combat tracks, and there's also a little bit more like forward melodic combat music in this. This is a very recent track, so about a month before release, a little bit more than a month before release, they actually asked me to write 6 more tracks for them. Because, you know, developing a game, you never really know what you're going to need in the future, right? Because it's a very iterative process. So kind of discovered that there were a few places where there was actually some more music needed. So I wrote some more. Actually put a new instrument in there that I've been learning recently, which is the clarinet. Not sure if in a few years I'll still consider it up to snuff, but it's kind of cool to learn an instrument. And then, in the process of learning it, it appears in a video game like a month later. That's kind of cool. Thank you, Amber Dragon. So a kind of cool thing to mention with this track is like in previous streams we've been talking about certain like quote unquote tricks that composers can use to make their music sound a little bit more engaging and interesting. One of the tricks that kind of gets used a lot is to have your bass do weird stuff and then try to put that weird stuff into a musical context by harmonizing it. It's kind of a way to challenge yourself. So what you might have heard is that this track does that a lot. So it starts out not on a C that you would expect, but it starts out on an E flat. So we're already in kind of shaky territory, like harmonically, because this doesn't sound as stable as this would. So because we're starting on the E flat, it immediately wants to start moving somewhere. So it gives a little bit more tension. So that bass walking upwards, and it's not always going chromatically, like it's not always going in half steps. It's more or less its own melody, and then the actual melody kind of has to follow that bass. I always really like doing that kind of stuff. Howdy, Aspiring Hero Games. Hope you're doing well. So that was a very fun track to do for Guild Saga as well. There's one track that I'd like to just show just a little bit of, because it's more of an ambient track, but they wanted kind of an ambient track with some that's a little bit witty, a little bit cheeky perhaps. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I can just do like the Sheikah Lab from Breath of the Wild, something like that. And I'll just do something like that and then send it to them like, hey, is this approximately the direction that you'd like this track to go in? And they were like, yeah, this is perfect. So that's fun, but it's a little bit of a weird track, because it's like if you've played Zelda and then you recognize stuff like this right away. Those kinds of jazzy chords. Some silence in between. And on some weird little metallic stuff. Some clock sounds. Because this was in kind of a wizard's lab. But this track is essentially just like Robbie, Breath of the Wild Robbie fan fiction. And it's in a game, so that's fun. Hi, Explosive Grape, welcome. Yiga Clan hideout, oh absolutely. Yeah, it's got a little bit more of that tension, right? That Yiga Clan also has. So Explosive Grape asks, which contribution are you most happy with? Yeah, I think that's a question for later in the stream, because I'm not sure if I can decide that right now. I think for this soundtrack, I'm not sure actually. I really like that first main theme that I showed in the beginning of the stream. I think it's cool that I got to do some Breath of the Wild fanfiction music. Really like the Pilgrim Camp that I showed just now. There's one other track that's very cool from this soundtrack that I'd like to show you. It's a little bit of a spoiler, so I won't. Let's just say it has to do a little bit with pirates and skeletons. A very atypical track for this soundtrack. kind of forgotten about this harmony. So they asked me like, hey Tim, we need a skeleton pirate track. And they showed me a screenshot of what it looked like. And I was like, so how corny can I be on a scale from 1 to 10? They were like, 8. So I got to break out the stupid xylophones and stuff like that. Very fun to do. Would also be great to do more piratey stuff for games in the future. Hi, Eggeroni Pepperoni. It's been a while, yeah. Thank you for the $5 Canadian super chat. Hope you're doing well, too. So absolutely a very, very fun soundtrack to work on. And to kind of pull together my my JRPG and my more Western video game music influences on this. There's one final track that I'd like to show you that I also showed in a previous stream that's just a very fun track, if I may say so myself. So this is an exploration track for In the Jungle. And this is a very like JRPG track because it's actually like it's coded like fantasy music, like with the instrumentation that's being used. So like there's frame drum in here, there's bowls in here, guitar, some strings. But the rhythm that's being played is a very modern rhythm. Like the and then with the bass guitar going grooving. So like combining that, like the fantasy language with more modern stuff. That's absolutely something that's happens a lot in JRPG kind of stuff. So grooving. Yeah, so that's some Guild Saga stuff. It's out now on Steam, and it's in early access, so they'll keep adding stuff to it. And I will add the soundtrack to Spotify and stuff soon. Aspiring Hero Games says, if you like Skeleton Pirates, the Holo Drum Pirates in Oracle of Seasons have a fun tune. Okay, so let's break style a little bit and do some Zelda stuff before we move on to the next soundtrack. Think. Holo Drum Pirates. I never actually played Oracle of Seasons. Kind of expected it to be their next remake after Link's Awakening. Excuse me. Oh man. Nope, this is something different. This is someone doing it on a synthesizer. I have to kind of search for this track, Aspiring Hero Games. This sounds like a Game Boy. Ha! Yeah, this is just going hard on jazz on a Game Boy. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Those are also Skeleton Pirates Aspiring Hero games. Skeleton Pirates is a thing, apparently. All right. Well, we're gonna be moving on to the next game. Let's do them in order of release. So the next game in order of release, I uploaded that soundtrack like yesterday, I think, and the game released yesterday as well. It's called STALKER. It's a game by the developer of The Outbound Ghost. Interesting story about that too, by the way, which I might touch on soon. Let me show you the trailer for that. So it's a very different kind of game compared to the Guild Saga, and the music is very different as well. This is much more action-focused, straightforward, arcade kind of stuff. So musically, I try to do the same. I really keep it tight and compact and melodic and energetic. And it's out now on Switch and on every other platform under the sun, more or less. Which is super impressive because essentially this is one guy making this with some help from freelancers. So this says PS5, PS4, it's on there as well, but it's also on Switch. It was actually made with Switch in mind first. So I'll put on some music from it and tell you a little bit about how that went writing for STALKER. And in general, like the contact I had with Conrad, the developer of that. So what's a nice like background track from that soundtrack? Well, let's do this. Yeah, so this started like almost a year after Guild Saga contacted me. So I'm not a full-time game music composer, and especially in those times I wasn't. Like 2022, 2023 was kind of when things started picking up. This year has been a very good year for reasons that we'll touch on later. So he contacted me in 2022. It was like I knew of his game, of The Outbound Ghost, and I knew that it was kind of gathering steam and it was kind of becoming a hit. So it was very, very cool of him to contact me for this game. And essentially, this soundtrack was supposed to be like more or less entirely comprised of combat music. So So like 8 combat tracks, and then those combat tracks would have more relaxed variations for like strategizing on the map and stuff in the game. And I felt like combat music was actually one of my like weak points is a big word, but you know, I'm a pianist, so I really love doing the slower, more melodic, more kind of more relaxed stuff. So combat music didn't come as naturally to me. So this was a very cool way to actually practice that a little bit more. So I was working really hard with him on making my combat music hit a little bit harder. So fun thing with Conrad is that for each game for each track he had a very clear reference track. So a reference track is when your client sends you a track that's more or less in the ballpark of what they want the track that you're writing for them to be in. And his reference tracks were all over the place. It was like Tall Heights from Link's Awakening. It was the final boss music from Fire Emblem. I think it's Id Purpose, or one of those bangers. Some jazzy stuff, some metal stuff, some folky stuff, just all over the place, which was super fun. Because I'm kind of focused on the folky stuff, but I do really love the other stuff as well to do that. So that was super cool. And oftentimes I would write something, working really hard to make it more combat music-y, which is always used to be difficult for me. I really learned doing that for STALKER. And I sent a draft over. I was like, is this approximately in the direction that you'd want to have it? And then an hour later, it would appear on Twitter under some gameplay footage. And he was like, yeah, we're putting this in the game. And I was like, I would like some more time to polish it first. But he was very clear in his direction, and then also very enthusiastic and energetic in the contact, which is very fun. I'll show you some tracks from this, and then I'll tell something more about the background, because I really have a lot of respect for Conrad and the way he does his thing. Aspiring Hero Games says, looks so good. I remember seeing earlier footage, and it's really great seeing it come to fruition. Yeah, so it was already released earlier on Steam in early access, and now it's finally finished, so it's on consoles as well. And the character designs were actually made by a fellow Dutch person. He's also named Tim, weirdly enough. So the paper character designs largely are made by other Dutch Tim. The music is made by me, and then the technical help importing the game over to Switch and Xbox and PlayStation was done by a third Tim. So most of this team is comprised of Tims, except for the guy who's doing most of the work. He's not named Tim, unfortunately. So we're trying to convince him to change his name to Tim as well. It would be only fitting. So a few of these tracks have been on my Spotify for a while, including this one. This is the Tall Heights fanfiction track. So the reference track Conrad sent me was actually my version of Tall Heights, which was weird. Hey Lazarus, good morning. Thank you. This is a super earwormy thing. And then this track has a more relaxed a map screen version, which is quite different. So in the game, like when you're like doing a 10-minute run or something, like 15-minute run from level to level, and the music keeps playing. And if the combat encounter is done and you're choosing to upgrade stuff, or you're picking your next target, then it crossfades into the map screen version, which is also always so satisfying to hear. So here you can kind of hear that the map screen version is slower, but it's not necessarily very, like, super different. Like, we went from something that was folky orchestral to something that was still perhaps a little bit more orchestral, but still in the same vein. But later on, writing the soundtrack, we kind of decided to make the difference between the combat track and the map screen track enormous. Let's see if I can find a version. All right, yeah, so this one. So this is a combat track, and this borders on metal, which is very cool to revisit because I hadn't done metal in years. And I really had to kind of try to finally become a decent guitar player, which is a project decades in the making. Just don't have talent for the thing. But you know, this is convincing enough guitar playing, so I'm happy with that. That's also thanks to STALKER that I finally was able to commit to becoming a somewhat decent guitar player. Also very blessed with my neighbors because this drumming was so loud. And then the map screen version of this is this. Some cowboy jazzy, don't even know what it is thing. But the cool thing is that these tracks, like melodically and in form, they're the same. So you can just crossfade between the two, and it will sound good. But you're going from cowboy stuff to metal for some reason. But the cool thing with Conrad was that he was like completely on board for this. Like, it was even, he was sending the reference tracks, right? So he was like, I want to do everything in this soundtrack. So that was very nice. Do 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 do. Crazy stuff. So there's a few tracks like that in here in the soundtrack. I uploaded it to my YouTube channel yesterday. So you can give it a listen. And if you're curious how these completely out of whack combinations of combat and map screen music works, the game is like €7 or $7, so it's very affordable. And it's on Switch, so definitely recommend checking it out. What's another fun one as well? So there was one track, actually, one of his reference tracks, he's a real Fire Emblem nut. And one of his reference tracks was a piece of music from a Fire Emblem CD with arrangements of music with like a singer, and it was very cool. It started out like super folky, and then it kind of turned into rock at a certain point. So we also wanted to do that, and that's one of the favorite tracks that I've written like in the last couple of years. So I'd really like to play along with that and show you that. It's not this one, by the way. This is also a cool track. I'm really happy with this soundtrack. With the other ones as well, but just because it was such an energetic process writing these earworms. Just an entire album of earworms. Even though with other projects I kind of try to keep the earworms back a little bit. But with this kind of game you can just go all out with the earwormy stuff. But this was another track that I wanted to let you hear. That was this one. So this starts out as a folky track, and then it starts turning. Something like that. Absolutely a very, very, very fun track to write. Thank you, Aspiring Hero Games. Yeah, it was such a just a fun dash to the finish. This, like, I had a fantastic time. So this was written between like November 2022 and like approximately June 2023. Now I'm wondering what the map screen is for that folk/rock kind of thing. Oh, there's also cowboy. Is it also cowboy stuff? Did I do more cowboy stuff? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I did quite a bit of those kind of groovy things. Of course, we were also going for some Persona vibes here and there, as you can hear. Yeah, this is a really nice track to drum along with. Kind of keep it lazy and groovy and chill. And bass playing, of course. Groovy stuff. Yeah, so before I will show you the final boss track that I'm very, very happy with, which was inspired by like It Purpose from Fire Emblem Fates, I think it was. But before that, I kind of want to tell you about what Conrad went through when developing this game, because it's kind of crazy and I have a lot of respect for him. Let's put on a relaxed kind of background track. Oh, this is fitting. Yeah, okay. So what happened, he had a hit game on his hands with the Outbound Ghost, which was gathering a lot of steam. And unfortunately, I won't tell too much because I don't know how much I'm supposed to say, but he got into a legal battle with his publisher, which forced him to pull the game down. So he had to pull his own game down from storefronts, from Switch and from Steam at the moment when it was really gathering momentum and kind of becoming a hit game. And then he was like embroidered in a legal battle with his former publisher for like 1.5 years, I think. And something like that would have, you know, I would have pulled my hair out over that. I'm not sure if I would make it to the other end of such an ordeal in one piece. But he was just, you know, determined that he was right, and he had a plan, and he just kept on developing this second game, STALKER, while this other game, the other baby of his, was kind of being taken away from him. And lots and lots of respect for how he did that. And the amounts of money that are involved in this, like, those are crazy amounts of money. So the positive thing is that he succeeded in getting control over his game back. And that was like quite recently, somewhere at the beginning of this year. And he finally succeeded in re-releasing it as well, which he did this week. So for him, it's going... it's definitely going quite quickly now. STALKER is released, the Outbound Ghost has been re-released, and he's fixed all the problems that were introduced by the rush job that the publisher did on it. And it's now completely under his own control. And he's also doing a straight up sequel to the Outbound Ghost to maybe try to get some of that original momentum back. But so much respect for Conrad, the way he's handled that and how entrepreneurial he's being. It's just nuts. And he's like 10 years younger than me. So that kind of shows, if you're not a scaredy cat like I am, yeah, how much you can accomplish. So lots of respect, absolutely. Aspiring Hero Games says, it must be exciting knowing you worked on these soundtracks ages ago and then they're finally being heard by everyone who plays these games. And then come to your channel Spotify for the OSTs. Yeah, it is very exciting. Like I've never been as productive a musician as the past like 3 years. This year in particular has been nuts because one like a bigger client that I can talk about, hopefully I can talk about next month. Just writing hours of music in a year. Like that's something that I always knew that I could do, but I never really got the opportunity to do it. And now I do have that. So that's just super exciting stuff. And I'm just proud of these soundtracks that I made. So I'm very glad that it's finally in people's hands. And ultimately it's about the games, right? So if the games are cool, then the soundtrack also gets time to shine. So I mainly just hope that people resonate with the games, and then I'm confident of my music that people will also resonate with the music. Alright, I'll show you the final track on this soundtrack, which is the final boss track. And I hope to be able to play along a little bit with it because it's going all over the place. And it was, as I said, inspired by that Fire Emblem final boss track. very fun to go ham with that track, with adding the choir and the accordion, trying to do the it purpose thing and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was STALKER, or that is STALKER. I still haven't bought it actually, so I might have to do that myself because I still have a €25 eShop card. I might do that after the stream because it is, as they say, perfect for Switch. Short and bite-sized game. Yeah, and hearing my own music through a Switch, that's going to be a special moment. All right, we're going to the third and final game. We'll probably be talking a little bit less about it because I haven't actually written as much music for that as for the other two games. But the music that I've written for it is kind of dear to my heart, and I'll show you that soon. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about the game, and it's releasing next month. It's called Wild Country. It's a card game / city builder. So you're doing like competitive city building, like 1 versus 1, and the person that is like able to build his city quicker and gets more income from his city wins the round. And you can kind of also try to sabotage the other player's city. So, cool game. Those people contacted me in the middle of 2022. So all these games kind of started around the same time, like 2022, when they kind of started going. I wrote a few tracks for them in 2022 and a few tracks in 2023. And it's coming to Switch as well. And they also had some challenges because they were a private division game, which is a label from, I think it was it 2K Games, like one of the bigger publishers. But that label actually got shut down during development, so they probably had a rough time. I'm not sure how it all went down, but I'm glad for them that the game finally got released. And the music that I wrote for them is actually quite interesting because the style that they wanted me to write initially was more in kind of the Kiki's Delivery Service, so kind of the Ghibli, nostalgic kind of Ghibli side, with some accordion and some mandolin particularly, and also try to work in some more like old school folky stuff to lean into that mood. So I'll show you the menu music. That's quite nice. Oh, that's the something different. There we go. That was actually one of the first tracks that I wrote when I got my mandolin. So kind of learned playing the mandolin and working on these tracks. Trying to going for the widescreeny nature documentary sound a little bit here and there. Yeah, it's a very different vibe again from compared to the other two games. So that's kind of a cool exercise to kind of try to modulate my composing style to fit the game. The other game that I've been working on this year also has its own very distinct style. Another track that I really like from this game. So I only wrote like 4 or 5 tracks, unfortunately. But I would really like to revisit this style for something new one day because it's an interesting style. This is another track that I really enjoyed writing. This is such a compact track. There's a lot happening in 2 minutes, which is nice to be able to have done. UA asks, are you going to upload the OST for Wild Country as well? I only see OSTs uploaded for Guild Saga and Soul Stalker. Excuse me. Yeah, they're going to be on YouTube and Spotify as well. I've been kind of wondering how to space all this music out a little bit. So I was considering releasing Wild Country like next week or the week after that. But then the game got delayed to the end of November. So I'm going to be waiting until the game is out before I upload that. But yeah, this is an interesting style, and I might want to revisit this for a new project because it's nice, it's cozy. It's also very like Nintendo-like in a way. The chord progressions like this. Sounds so like Animal Crossing, perhaps, which is also obviously an inspiration for this. Or Mario, like something Nintendo-like. It's very much in here. And also doing some, like UA says, some bluesy, some jazzy stuff in here. Yeah, so those are the 3 games. Like combined, it's like, I think 2 hours of music, like these 3 games combined. But the longest soundtrack by far is the Guild Saga one. And I really hope the Guild Saga, I'm not sure what their plans are actually for console releases. Yeah, art style as well, and kind of the general vibe. They're trying to go for a Animal Crossing kind of thing. Yeah, really hope they have some success with that as well, because they've been working on it for a long time. Yeah. Kind of wondering what I can show you or what we can chat about now that I've kind of given you a walkthrough of these soundtracks. Yue says, Tim, I'm hoping that many people who play these games will get to fall in love with the OSTs like I have. And hopefully you get the recognition you deserve. Thank you so much, Yue, for your kind words. I'm just so happy to have been able to do these at all, and very happy that I'm doing the other thing that I'm hopefully able to talk about soon, which is kind of a opportunity to maybe get some more ears on my music, like from listeners as well, but also from developers, which is also super important, of course. All right, I think that's going to do it for this little live stream, special live stream. So now these soundtracks have been released, I'm going to be going back on some more Echoes of Wisdom stuff, I think. Because I'd kind of had the intention to do a few tracks from that game. So I will return next week or the week after that with some Echoes of Wisdom stuff, and I'll keep you all posted on these lovely games. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening to my rambling and to my little music adventures here. Yeah. See you later, UA. See you later, Ember Dragon. Good luck with your schoolwork. and I'll see the rest of you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.